Hey, it's Al Angelo here. Back to you. A Plus Racing. Gonna do another part of that series on how to rebuild that racing engine that wants to put you up there in the front of the pack. So, well, yeah, I know it's crazy T-shirt day here at the school, so I wore my IDPA shooting jersey. But so I'm going to show you how to put the rear main seal on. And we already had knocked out the rear main seal. We got this all cleaned up, free of any silicone and any gasket material. And I got myself a new seal right here. So I know a lot of people have trouble putting this in here, so I'm going to show you how I do it. So basically what I do is I take just a regular 2x4, and this rear main seal bracket has a couple little notches on it. So I'm going to set it on each side like that, okay? And this is going to be super simple. If you try to do it like this thing is moving all around, and a lot of times I see people break this. This is the easy way to do it, all right? So I set this on here like that. This faces away from the engine. This goes towards the engine. So this seal is going to go on like this, okay? So this right here is going to face the outside of the engine. So I just merely sit it right here, and then I'm going to tap it down until it's fairly flush. I could use a steel hammer if I wanted to. And I'm just going to make it as flush as I possibly can here. A little more on this side. There we go. And a little more right here, and I think I'm going to have it. All right. Getting close. Okay, so I've got that rear main seal flush all the way around here, and it's ready to go inside there now. And if I want, I can put a little bit of grease right inside of here, and then I'm going to slide this over the crankshaft. So the next step is going to be putting this on, and I'll come back to you at that in just a minute. All right, thanks. All right, it's Al Angelo from A Plus Racing, back at you here with the next part of let's put together a pro-built motor without having to pay a pro. So today we're going to kind of button up the bottom of the short block. And so I'm going to put on the oil pump, and I'm going to put on the rear main seal, and I'm going to show you how to put on the pan. So the first step is we're going to go ahead and put on the rear main seal. So I have it right here, and I knocked out the rear main seal and I put the new main seal in. I already had a video on that. And then I have the bolts here. Now there's something, come on, get closer, get closer. I want you to look at these bolts, okay? I want you to notice how far down they are underneath the rear main seal. But they're two different sizes. So one of them is short and one of them is longer, okay? So you got to watch because one of them has a thicker boss than the other one. You don't want to get them backwards, okay? I see that happen all the time. The other thing is there's a couple of pins right here. Those pins need to go into the block. Sometimes when you pull the rear main seal out, the pin is stuck in the block. So just be aware that you need to have two pins on there, and that helps line up the gasket. All right, so let's go ahead and put this on. I'm going to take these bolts off. I'm going to set them aside for now. And there is a gasket that goes back here, all right? And it just sits right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little bit of grease to help me hold the gasket in place. So I'm just going to put a thin layer of grease right here, and that's going to help me hold the gasket where it needs to go. All right. Okay. And then I'm going to take some grease, and I'm going to go ahead and put it inside of this rear main seal right here. Now, if I was knocking this rear main seal on from behind the transmission, let's say I pull the transmission out and I was going to put this in while it was in the car, what I would do then is I would, I'll show you here. I would pack this groove with grease so that this little spring that's inside there doesn't pop out. Because if you're hammering that into place and that spring pops out, it's going to leak really bad. So I would pack that whole thing with grease, and that would keep the spring from coming out. But we're not doing that, and actually I rarely do that. So I got my gasket on there, and everything's all set. And I'm just going to slide this over very carefully without dropping the gasket. Okay. And then I'm just going to walk the seal around the crankshaft. All right. So that I don't damage the seal. Okay. Now, once it finds its home, it's going to be where those pins went into the block and helped align it. All right. So I got those on there. And now I got my bolts. And I got to remember that the bottom bolts were the longer ones. So I'm going to go ahead and set those in there. And they're just little 10 millimeters. And you got to be careful about tightening them, man. I have to tell you, man, the kids, they think it's a lug nut. That's the weird thing about working with high school kids. They leave the lug nuts loose because they think it's a little bolt like this. Then they try to tighten these like it was a lug nut, and they break them. So I'm constantly repairing them. So I know this is a little difficult to not only see, but to get to. But, oh, and guess what I did? I put them on backwards. The long ones go on the bottom. I'm looking at this engine upside down. I'm allowed to make one mistake. All right, so the long bolt goes on the bottom. There we go. I think, no, I was right. The long bolt does go on the top. I didn't make a mistake. I take that back.
Which is the bottom?
I'm golden. So this is the bottom down here, which is actually the top when you turn the engine over. So I was just wondering why it wasn't fitting right. And there it goes. It was not pushed on all the way. Okay. We're rolling now. All right, one more to go, and then I'll switch to tightening them. Okay. All right, and I'm just going to use a 10 millimeter wrench on this, and I'll just I'll walk it on down. So I know it's kind of hard to get into when you have it on the engine stand, but just work with it. Not a big deal. And like I said, it doesn't get torqued crazy tight. So I've been watching the comments that you guys have been posting on my channel, and I got to tell you, this channel is for you. You know, I mean, I already know how to do all this stuff. So I do this channel for you, so that other people, because I get a lot of people that friends of mine and people that I race with that are always calling me up or hitting me up at the track on, hey, how do you do this? How do you do that? And so I'm happy to share my techniques with you. And so it's kind of your channel, okay? And I'm almost like I'm working for you. And so you got to let me know if there's something that you'd really like to know about racing or a Miata or Autocross Miata, or, you know, working on an Autocross Miata, a Spec Miata. Of course, that's what I do. And I own a street Miata, and my sister owns a street Miata, so, you know, I'm always working on ours. But it's your channel. So, you know, let me know in the comments below if there's something in particular. I have had some good luck with people chiming in. You know, we did that clutch one for Chicago. And then today, I got an email from Brian asking a lot of questions about a cage. So I'm going to do a short video on the cage. I called my cage guy and talked to him about it. So I'll do one on for Brian out in Florida. I'll do that video on the cage. Okay. So the rear main seal's on. Now you may notice, if you come closer here, that the gasket was pretty flush right here. But if you look at it over here, it's sticking up. Okay. All I do is I just trim that off with a razor blade before I put the pan on. Okay? All right. I'm going to go ahead and prepare the oil pump to be put on because that's what's next. So I'll come right back at you in just 1 minute. Okay. Hey, I know that we wrapped up the rear main seal on this. So I was going to put all these videos together, the oil pump, the rear main seal, and the oil pan, but man, it's super long. So I'm going to break it up into 3 sections so we I'm just going to call it that we're wrapping up that rear main seal. We wrapped up the oil pan, and we wrapped up the oil pump. Hey, but there is one thing else I noticed on this oil pump that I should show you. So let me just put it on here. And that is, I'm going to put, you see this hole right here? That's in case I want to put this oil pump on a front wheel drive vehicle. So make sure that you fill that hole in with silicone. Is this even any good? That was no good. Let me try this one. So I want to fill that up with silicone, since this is not going to use that kind of dipstick tube. Like that. Okay? Alright. So there you have it. That's how we put on the rear main seal, the oil pan, and the oil pump. I hope that you liked the video, and if you liked it, subscribe to the channel, because we're going to be bringing you a lot more repairs on your Spec Miata for autocrossing, track day, or just your regular driver. So I appreciate it. Have a great day. Bye now.